Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. It stands up before anything else.
So we've been here for 10 years now, and we've been kind of creating a journey. We've been very much focusing on young drivers in order to create also a wider scale in this country.
The idea of Volkswagen as a brand is to support and grow motorsport.
They will not be able to hear anything.
Power is, you only understand it when you feel it, you know?
Volkswagen.
There's an old saying in motorsport, you know, if you want to make a million, start with a billion.
You got to work your way up. You got to have talent. Ultimately, you have to be born with an ability to drive the car fast. I think you have to be practical, pragmatic. You have to be able to bounce back from a lot of setbacks, because you'll have 9 bad days for every one day, but the joy you feel on that one day makes up for the other 9.
It's probably one of the toughest sports mentally, physically, and many people crack, many people move aside and fade away. But if you want to sustain, then you have to really fight it.
You have to be fearless. You are always fighting against, and you don't think about what could happen when things go really wrong.
If you don't have that little bit of craziness in you, it's not going to really work out long term.
My mind, I always use the aggressive approach. If you don't want to move forward, you always end up going backwards.
For me, it's always a great experience, motorsports, because you smell the tires, you smell the oil, you smell the excitement of the drivers, and it's just car pure.
You know, it also goes as a big sacrifice in terms of your career, because you're into something which is not conventional and it's not going to give you too much of returns monetary, at least not in the short term. You know, where your friends are, you know, doing masters, living in the US, you know, making a lot of money. You know, you're here doing your thing that you love, which is not really giving you back in monetary terms, but you definitely go back home and sleep good because you're doing what you love at the end of the day.
The driver needs to extract every last fraction of a second, otherwise they're not going to win.
Power is, you only understand it when you feel it, you know?
Volkswagen.
We started off in 2010 with the Polo Cup, which was a 1.6 litre diesel powered Polo race car with a 6-speed manual gearbox. Then we moved on to the Polo R Cup in 2012, which was a 1.4 turbocharged engine with the DSG gearbox with paddles. So it was a big step forward. And both these cars, I would say, sort of laid the foundation for what is our core activity in terms of motorsport in India. So these two were the initial beginnings of our One Make Championship, which then continued on with the Vento Cup and then the Amio Cup, of course, and now this year with the new race Polo.
Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
It's a championship which many will feel that they will want to put themselves head and shoulders above. In terms of Indian sim racing, there is nothing quite like it, and there is going to be so much on the horizon to try and play for. 5 rounds of championship action, and it's all coming up right here as we get ourselves focused. Volkswagen Motorsport launched the Polo Cup in 2010, marking their entrance in Indian motorsport. The aim was to provide a platform for young drivers to begin professional racing and display their skills on a national level. Since then, they have produced many race drivers who have progressed to race internationally. Since its inception in 2010, Volkswagen Motorsports India's goal is to develop motorsport in India, to find and groom India's next international racing star, and then to demonstrate technologies like TSI and DSG via their motorsports platform. The brand boasts of successfully completing 10 seasons of One Make Championships, with different Volkswagen cars winning the Indian Touring Car Championship in its debut, along with wins in the Indian National Rally Championship. now they have launched the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. Focused here today on bridging the gap between virtual racing and real-world racing by giving a fully sponsored season to the winner of this VVRC Championship. The Driving Force, India's first docu-series based on motorsport in India, is produced by the VWMI. It's a 6-part series that takes audiences on a trip of a lifetime and brings out the forces that drive individuals to take up the unconventional sport. And that show is streamed on some of India's largest OTT platforms, such as Disney+, Hotstar, Jio TV, and many, many more here today. My name is Jake Sperry. I'm joined alongside by Solomon Paras here today to bring you all of the incredible action that is on the horizon. And well, Solomon, it has to be said that we look at a few things right now here, just in the early stages of qualifying, and we're at the circuit of Imola here today, which is, for all intents and purposes, always a classic track which brings the action.
I think you got it spot on, Jake. First and foremost, a big hello from here. This is a track which is going to be very, very hard when it comes to intrinsic ability and also going on the curves. Now, this is Imola for you. Somebody would call it infamous, but we know you can always get for sure for one of the best actions that you can ever watch it. Jake, it's going to be all the way down to the pedal, and it's always going down to the wire. Already excited to look at the race over here today.
Absolutely the same here, but of course there are a few more people that we do need to thank for jumping along with the VVWC here today, the opening round of the championship to MRF. We go to first the high-grade quality tyre manufacturing company in India, which supplies tyres all around, both nationally and internationally. They've been associated for 5 years with Volkswagen Motorsport India and are major supporters of motorsport in the country with their active contribution in the Indian National Racing Championship, rally programs in India, and of course international level, for example with the Formula 4000 Championship. Must give a shout out to Venky's Group, who are the largest fully integrated poultry group in Asia. Today it plays proud parent to a number of reputed organisations under its wide umbrella and successfully caters to poultry and its allied sections. Also to the NECC, the National Egg Coordination Committee. They are an association of poultry farmers in India with a membership of more than 25,000 farmers, and in the past 2 decades the NECC has played a significant role for the betterment of the poultry industry in general and the egg industry in particular. Venky's and the NECC have associated since 2 years ago, and their active contribution in developing, supporting and promoting sports in the country, both helping to support athletes and the consumption of appropriate nutrition and protein through various initiatives, has been nigh on fantastic for them so far. But with qualifying here at this stage, this is going to be all about now getting the best time possible on the board in these Polo Cups. The Seto Corsa, the original, we're playing here today in terms of the game of choice, and giving a lot of flexibility here for the modifications needed to bring these Polo Cups into this sort of championship as they push on through. We're looking at Aro Ravindra here, moving through Piratella Corner as we just have a little flick on over to Garvin Loader, going to the opening section of track, and there is just how difficult qualifying can be, having to really soar on the wheel there, just to try and make sure that you can get on through.
A quick word about Aro Ravindra. Well, he's doing well as far as the virtual championship is concerned, but that man is a hardcore racer. Just let's look at his profile. 2019 Jacob was kart champion, national karting champion 2017. I also believe that he was also the 2016 national champion. He was also the national karting champion. Now, way back, he started in 2013, so he had a very, very professional, I would say, racers who are on track. They're also going to be on watch. Another one name that we got to talk about is Raven Samoville, but we will talk of them as they keep coming in. Aro Ravindra on your screen at the moment.
Yep, going over to the top of the timing stands, it seemed, there with that one. There is Raiden Sam Ravel, who booked his place through the Indian E-Racing Championship in the late stages of that tournament. Needed a top 6 to qualify and just about managed it, so able to get himself into the mix then here today. He's currently in 13th position as qualifying stands at this moment in time. But let's talk about this Imola track for a little bit. There's so many great corners which are an institute of racing. I would say that you can pick up these corners, put them anywhere on any circuit in the world, and they'd be absolutely fantastic. You've got the Tamburello chicane, you've got that Tosa hairpin, you've got that run through Acqua Minerale up to Variante, Alta, and then of course those two Ravazza corners as we take a look at Oshan Coppadia in second position for a little bit. This is a track which really showed earlier on this year, for example in Formula 1, that it could be a really entertaining place to go and have racing, and it's one which I think will go down as one of the quietly great tracks that Italy have produced.
Absolutely right. When we talk about Italy, we talk about this is technically Ferrari's background, but more than that, one thing when you talk about the Tosa, when you talked about Peratilla, these are one of those corners where you need to set up the car for the entire race. You cannot set up your car for one corner. Either you want to curb in a little bit later, you want to make sure the curbs come out a little bit. It's all that excitement of Imola, because we know for a fact that it gives you that edge of that seat action. Spot on, again to mention, this track, you got to be very careful because you're going to be touching the curbs, and aka track limits is going to be in question today.
You also have to talk about the car as well. The Volkswagen Polo isn't necessarily the quickest car in the world. I think that's no understatement. So this is going to be all about control and gathering momentum through these corners. With such a hilly track like this one today, Solomon, wouldn't you say that it's all about the driver who is able to carry the most amount of speed through the corner, who is going to be the one who really picks up the big advantages here today?
I would close my eyes and say it's Aro Ravindra, because personally I've seen that guy race. He's one of those guys who keeps it very simple. He knows he's got to be in the P1, P2. He's one of those guys who comes in, puts in a good qualifying time, and let the race come to him. So between all of his experience, I would actually rate Aro Ravindra. And another name which we need to watch out for, we just saw him on your screen for a little bit, Raiden Samuel, and also Oshan. He set in the personal best the previous lap. So these are the three names I'm going to look at. Is there right in front of you as well now? I think, was that, would you call that a commentator's curse already? Sorry about that.
Yes, I would, and I believe the apology is in straight away. Oshan Coppadia proving how difficult the Acqua Minerale section is. Let's just talk about that little section of track, Solomon, because that is a pointed track where you have to turn and brake at the same time, and then on the outside you have grass to deal with. So if you even slightly try and push the limits too far at that section of road, then that's it, you'll go for a skate like Coppadia just did.
Absolutely. So I would rather ask, which is your apex? Which is your entry? Do you take a wider exit? If you take a wider exit, you may not be able to exit out of the other corner very quickly. It's quite a technical corner. You really will have to make sure that when you are approaching your car, the reverse of your car, the rear of your car, just sits in well. There you go. So for some reason you will have to go on the grass. You just cannot avoid it. That's how technical this track is.
Absolutely it is. We're just having a look at Ronnie Rock at this stage, going through the Variante Alta. Of course, it's had a few changes over the years. It was elongated as part of 2006 renovations, which was the last time before 2020 Formula 1 went around this place. And of course, there were more renovations that came along, which meant that the end of the Variante Bassa was found for a long 1 kilometre front straight around this place. It's such a very technical and difficult track to try and make things happen. But now we're heading into those late stages here in qualifying. We've got 4.5 minutes to go, and there are going to be a few names who definitely want to jump up through the order. One driver who's definitely caught my eye over the last couple of months has been Amit Kuti, the Season 3 champion of the Indian E-Racing Championship. He got himself 3rd position in the championship over the course of this last current season that we just had, and now Kuti here is definitely searching for good results. He's currently 4th at this stage with 4 minutes left.
Amit Kuti, 17-year-old. Well, he's possibly showing the pros how to get it done. It's nice whenever you get a young talent trying to take on the seniors. It just opens and widens the entire competition together, and that's what racing is so exciting, all about. Anatoli, 17 years old, you said it well. Winners of the IRC, India's Fast. Having completed, just to let you know, he's also done the single seater testing also pretty recently. So he's a virtual racer and he's also an on-track racer as well.
And this is one of those keys where you get that very nice coupling of the real and the virtual. A lot of people talk about how when it comes to racing, when it comes to all of this sim racing action that we get, it's all about trying to translate some of those skills. There are slight subtleties, slight differences, but if we look at Jamie Shaw here in 6th position, sometimes when it comes to sim racing, it's all about feel and precision, and having that feel and that precision underneath you gives you that opportunity to go on and move forward. That's why we see so many drivers look to pick up triple screens or virtual reality to go out there and race.
Spot on, Jack. I mean, spot on. We were initially talking about how quickly things change. You just gotta make that little adjustment into a tighter corner. Don't get off the brake so early. Don't get off the accelerator so early. Just line it up. It's all about lining your car into every corner over here, and that's what we're gonna make sure that we get faster lap times. Pratik Sumbanija Singh just came around. I think he clocked me about 8 or 9. Raj Tula on the track at this point of time from Mumbai. This is technically his first official e-racing. Way back, he's also taken a little bit of karting as a sport a little while back.
Absolutely, and as we see here, there is in 21st position Avik Anwar out on screen. We're down to a minute 48, so the drivers here looking to get around the similar circuit. This will be probably their last opportunities to set those big laps. It's a long track around here today. You can see the car really sit down under braking through the Villeneuve chicane. Very nice and narrow there out to the exit. Maybe could have used a little bit of curb out there on Villeneuve before running up through this Tosa hairpin and trying to attack in the number 19 machine up the hill towards Piratella corner. Now, there is a lot of corners here that really go understated, really soft. Look at how this is going as we take a look at Siddhartha Sakyan here, who is down in 22nd place, just coming up the hill. A lot of corners here really do deal with undulation in very different ways. Ravindra still top, the timing stands, but that undulation is all about, okay, well, you are having to deal with what the ground is doing through a corner, which doesn't traditionally happen in more modern tracks.
It's a very interesting question that you asked. Dick, you don't know which one to pick. You don't know which one to pick as the favorite corner or the corner which can be a make-up break. And it's one of those. You talked about this wonderful corner. I agree with you about the Tosa, the corner number 7. It is almost like how do you brake in? Do you completely brake in, or you brake out and then let the car line it up? I'm telling you, I just like Imola because of the fact that it kind of spices up the things and spices it to make the races go on.
Absolutely, we're heading right down to the nitty-gritty now. The timer will expire. Drivers will have the opportunity to finish their laps. We're focusing on Amit Kuti here, making the charge towards the first of the chicanes here, the Variante Alta, and going through with a nice run. There is Munjal Salia making progress over towards the line as qualifying is pretty much coming towards an end. He jumps up into 5th position then with that sort of time. The last of the drivers then will be looking to make that progress and make things all happen. They have to avoid those anti-cut curbs as much as they possibly can. Jamie Shaw's been shuffled down late in this session. He's now back in 9th place, searching for a little bit more time. He'll be hoping here that his final run down the hills towards those 2 Robatsa corners become very, very good. It's downhill braking. Gravity is not there to help you slow down the Polo, and effectively you've got to hope that you've got a good drive through this final corner, nicely over the first curve, nicely over onto the AstroTurf in the second curve, and then you've got this big drive to the line. We have to be as narrow as you can on this straight, not affording to let go any mistakes. It's a rather shortish drive to the line in terms of the length that this straight has. Jamie Shaw then, as he crosses the line, does remain in the 9th position here. There is Rishabh Banerjee there coming over the line. He also can only manage 10th place to get to the final couple of drivers. Pratik Sonawana there trying to make sure that he gets him close to getting up, maybe inside the top 10. Might be useful starting 6th row, 7th row. May not be the best place to be today in this sort of race, but as we see here up the top, it is Ara Ravindra, then Kothanier in second, and Smuts in the end is up in 3rd position at this stage. Does Sonawara find any more improvements on the lap as he comes across the start-finish line? It is going to be a no. He will stay in 11th position. Ashish Raj is going to be the other driver here who's got any capabilities of setting a lap time. In fact, no, he's actually gone around and finished up all of his laps. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be able to do right now is head over to a little conversation that we've had. We're going to have a little step aside as we had a little bit of a conversation with the head of Volkswagen Motorsports India and Sirish Visa.
For us, motorsport is something that we do more. It is much more than just a marketing exercise. It is part of who we are, and it is something that we feel is a way for us to give back to India. With a country of 1.3 billion people, I am sure, and all of us at Volkswagen are sure, that we can find and develop the next great racing talent out of here. So for us to be able to do that, we start off with our One Make Championship, which serves as sort of the foundation for people to not only develop their motorsport talent, but also it gives them access to world-class equipment. And so then it makes the step from motorsport in India to doing something international much more doable. And in terms of our support for motorsport and what we do with motorsport in India, like I said, our core program is our One Make Championship. We're also involved with the Indian Touring Car Championship, which is the premier class of motorsport in India for saloon cars. And we run a 2-car or 3-car team over there. And this is something that is a prize for the winner of our One Make Championship to graduate into. This is what we do on the racing side. We also have a huge program in terms of rallying. And when it comes to rallying, we run it quite differently to our racing program, where it is all customer driven. So we have on any rally that you look at, that's part of the Indian National Rally Championship, you will find that more than 50% of the grid is made up of Volkswagen Polos. That's because we've been able to support customers and help them develop their cars. And of course, with Volkswagen reliability and quality, they are able to finish more rallies than our competition. So this is sort of the key parts of our motorsport program. In addition to this, though, we do have a customized car program for use for customers on the racetrack. So we can build you a track day car powered by either a 1 liter, 1.5 or 2 liter engine, anywhere from 100 horsepower to 300 or 400 horsepower. And it can be either a front engine front wheel drive or a mid engine rear wheel drive. So this is something that is quite unique, that we don't offer anywhere else in the world, and it is something that makes what we do very special in India.
Power is, you only understand it when you feel it, you know?
Volkswagen.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. It stands up before anything else.
So we've been here for 10 years now, and we've been kind of creating a journey. We've been very much focusing on young drivers in order to create also a wider scale in this country.
The idea of Volkswagen as a brand is to support and grow motorsport.
they will not be able to hear anything.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. We are up on the grid here and just a couple of minutes away from the start of action and proceedings at this moment in time. My name's Jake Sperry, joined alongside by Solomon Paras. There is Ozcan Kotadir, second position at the moment on the grid, and we cycle on back through absolutely everyone who has had a pretty good run of things today in qualifying. Steve Smuts there in third position on the grid in the 08, with Amit Kuti there back in fourth position, a little bit far away from his grid box there just to get things going. Row 3 will be one that's very much entertaining and interesting just to keep an eye out on with how everyone is looking here. You got likes of Raghav Budaraja, who looks like he's going to be someone to be worth keeping an eye out on here. Garvit Loda as well. Definitely keep an eye on him in the mix. Nanbeat Kumar is there at the moment. He is certainly hoping for a good start here today in this one. Jamie Shaw as well will be hoping for something very similar, as I believe we have a couple of little bit of glitches here to work through. I don't think we've had a completely straight run through here with the grid, but there is Banerjee in 8th position, classified by the graphics that we see right now. We'll go through the last two that we get to 9th and 10th position as we look on through. Tej Patel, and of course there will be others searching for good times. Pratik Sonawana is certainly going to be one of them, but it's a long run down to turn number 1 with Ozcan Kotadir there on the front of the grid as things stand at the moment, meaning that the pole sitter has not taken the space on the grid that maybe we would have expected. So that's going to be an entertaining prospect. There he goes up onto the grid right in the nick of time with about 20 seconds to work out here. So Ara Ravindra having a few troubles, but ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ourselves ready. Lights procedure about to start, and we will be getting ourselves underway for half an hour's worth of battle. We put 5 lights on. We put 6 of them even. But we get ourselves underway and we get ourselves to racing. Ara Ravindra with a really, really strong start. They start here today at the finish line, and look at them swarming already. It looks like Cooties had a really good start. And there's troubles in the background. 2 already in trouble. 3, 4 maybe in the background have all found themselves in the wall on the run to Tamburello. And it is Ravindra who's got the good start. But crucially, I believe Kotadir did enough to hold off then to stay in second position as they fight on through and scrap now towards the Villeneuve chicane.
You know, the one thing very good about was this particular start was Aro Ravindra kept his cool. He knew he's going to be challenged for the first position, and then he also knew that if he just needed to get past the 3 corners, and he's exactly done that. The chicane between Valentini was a tough one. Now, Amit, that was a close.
It's more than close. It's a big hit, and Cothadiers are around and up and over there with a huge hit. And that is not ideal for Oshan Kothadier. Kuti's got through, and somehow Pratik Sonawana is up into 4th position here, going through at Piratella Corner. So he's had a storming start to this race, but Kothadier will not be happy after starting on the front row of the grid and now being behind by a long distance after a huge hit. Aravindra leads this one. It is Smuts in 2nd, and now Kuti trying to hold off 3rd place at this stage as they go to the Variante Alta for the very first time, or just the Variante at this stage. There is Sonawana trying to have a look down the inside. It's tough to fight through this section. They both come together. Kuti can't about hold it. He'll drop way down after not having any power now to deal with on the exit. Banjari going up now into, Banerjee going up into 5th place.
You know, one thing very interesting was Arun Ravindra knew for a fact is that if he just had to get ahead and the rest of them were going to be fighting it out for the little space, because there are certain places between turn 5 and 6 and 7 you really don't find that the number of space to over. It's trying to do a number of flips in the air, the car top. I think the car just came down to 3, but it kind of looks very exciting when a car just goes a little bit on the outside, but then it just brings in that action a little bit more stronger. Arun Ravindra still in the lead at the moment.
Absolutely having a good run of things right now, and he's doing well. There's the battle all the way back in 15th, as this is Menno having himself in a little bit of a position here as he tries to go on through Tamburello's chicane and move on towards the Gilles Villeneuve chicane, which comes up as the second little run that they have right now. All nicely worked out through that section as they go through lefts and rights. They can see on the timing tower where everybody is at this moment in time, making good runs up and down the field. 28 drives all searching, and there is having Anwar in a little bit of trouble. Anuj Raj, we think, may have had himself a little bit of involvement. He's in a scrap right now here, trying to get past Ronnie Rock, and he's trying to get through and find a way by. At the moment, not going to be able to do that just yet, but power on the exit's always going to be needed, and there it is. Bit here, and we see like Swaraj Yadav in 15th position. He's certainly searching for an opportunity to climb up through the field right now. Every position now becomes a key battleground in the early reaches of this race. Yadav there in 15th position, hoping to do well. There is Ravindra at the front, so you can see here there have been some drivers who've done well. Amit Kuti has been someone who has lost out, because he's now back down into 6th position at this stage in the race, but at this moment he's now down to 7th. There's 1-2 drivers off there at Rabat. Didn't quite catch who those were, but it looks like that could have been Banerjee, one of the drivers who's gone off. Sakuti +2 moves back into position number 5, and Solomon, just like that, is how quickly early on you can gain places. Jamie Shaw also running into troubles.
Jamie Shaw has already lost about 4 positions in a matter of just 2 corners. Now, if he continues to drive like that, he's going to drop a little bit more. Munjal Sabla is right now moving up to the 3rd position. As I look at the leaderboard, Arun Ravindra pulling up a lap time of a distance of 1.5 seconds. Pratik Sonawana has gone over the grass quite a number of times. As much as he's not gone onto the curbs here today, he's got to be a little bit careful. Somehow he still manages to walk out to the 4th. Was he brake testing him there? I think he was possibly doing that.
I wouldn't have thought it was a brake test. I'd have thought if he had any form of penalty, he was trying to get away with that. There is the mid-pack here. Raghav Budaraja is in 10th position, and right now you can see he's having to play defensive back to some pack of 6, but looks to try and work out how to try and negotiate through to the mid-section of this lap, side by side down the hill to Aqua Minerale. That's always a dangerous place to go, and now try and pick and choose. Budaraja's gone too deep. He manages to slam into the side, and ultimately he pays the price and is out there. Aditya Pawar now stuck to attack then for that 9th place. He's going to try and dive down the inside and pick up the place, but around the outside that's very well to get the position back. So Pawar is now back down into 10th position, but it's been action-packed off the start.
You know what? I've always believed every time when you're overtaking someone, you already need to be seen. You always got to need to be seen. Otherwise, you're going to be like car number 27. You just try and come into the edge when the car is already there. That was bound to happen. Pratik Sundmani moves up to position 8. Did I see the time board? It says 1.8 seconds is the lead for Arun Ravindra. Pratik Sundmani, with all that has happened with him, he's somehow managed to consolidate number 7. I gotta be honest here, he could have lost a lot more positions than that. Aditya Pawar still fighting. Will he be able to gain a position right now? No, he doesn't. Somehow closes the door right on time on car number 20 as we look around it.
Yeah, certainly was searching for a little bit of time. We've got one driver in the pits, it's Garvin Loader, who's come down in, but Pawar here in 9th, fighting for what is now the 8th position on the road, and every point matters in this championship. If you don't have a good round 1, well, you have to attack a little bit further forward at this moment in time. So you've got the likes of Lalit Jabak then, who's going to be in a little bit of trouble, but they both need to work to catch that 3-car train in front, which started to fight a little side by side up the hill. That one doesn't go the way that maybe Tej Patel was hoping for as they went up through, so they're going to be in a little bit of a sticky wicket, I think is the right way to point it right now, but they can't afford to battle too hard, or they'll bring everyone back into them again.
There is something which I noticed, which most number of mistakes that people would like to call that is happening in turn number 17 and turn number 7. Remember the Tosa corner that you were talking about? Some of them are just not able to map that corner as much as they'd like to, especially Amit Kuti struggled earlier on as well. I really like the lines though Arun Ravindra took on turn number 7 and into turn number 9. There we have it, Arun Ravindra. What a perfect drive he's been having so far, but then the challenge is just going to get a little tougher. Oh, I love this. The view from the car. You get better than that, can it?
Driver's eye view into the opening couple of corners. Arun Ravindra's not had the best couple of laps. Reeled in, hand over fist by Steve Smuts, who is there just behind and wants to try and take the race lead away. But we're going to have a little conversation with a driver. We had a conversation earlier on with Nirav Jain, who is going to be talking about a little bit of what he goes through when it comes to racing.
I'm from Hyderabad, 20 years old. Started watching F1 a year ago with a couple of friends of mine. And over the lockdown, got into racing on the PS4. Started off with the controller. I was racing on Gran Turismo Sport, and that's how I got into the the initial round because it was on Gran Turismo. So I entered through PlayStation, and then I got a sim a month and a half ago. Not even a sim, just got a pedal and the wheel. Dismantled my study table and then attached it, and then I've been practicing on that. But no prior experience in terms of. I mean, I have done go-karting, but never in terms of really focusing on the line and lap times. It was just out of pure curiosity. But there's been a lot of free time in my hands, so I've been really trying to do something, and this sparked my interest. So took it, and then it's been.
Well, we just saw there at the opening half of the lap, Nirav Jain losing out the place, then falling back to 22nd position. Back up to the front, this has been a better lap then from Ravindra, but Steve Smuts there in second position. Definitely wants to get into the mix here right now, Solomon. He is there in second place, but he just needs to find those consistent laps again. They are starting to hit a little bit of lap traffic as well, which is not ideal. In fact, that lap traffic exits stage right at the exit of Tamarello, so that's one way to deal with that. But Steve here wants to try and get himself up into the race leading position. Doesn't have to do it right now. He's got 20 minutes to play with here.
Arun Ravindra clearly sees him on his rear view mirror. He knows, okay, the gap is coming down from 1.5 to about 8/10 of a second. Now that gap is going to come down with every passing corner. So I would actually believe this one, and Steve Smuts have really brought in this entire race alive. Just to let you know a little bit right at the back down here, Aditya Pawar still struggling in position number 9. In fact, he lost position from number 9. Munjals is still hanging on to number 3. Amit Kuti, he's he would be happy with his performance so far at number 4 with all. Here we go.
Here we go indeed. This is the fight for the podium now. He's done so well to pull that gap down, and Kuti takes the place and jumps up then into position number 3, just like that. It's as easy as it comes. Munjal Salva did not have much to really argue against this, and Kuti, though, for all of the mistakes he's been making, is already a firm about 9 seconds away from those at the front of the field, which is definitely not what you want to be in, definitely not the position you want to be fighting in. But really, Solomon, now is the time to get your head down. You've got clear track ahead of you. It's time to just focus on attacking clean and consistent laps.
Jake, you called it well. You said Amit Kuri is a man who's going to be on the offensive. He's been more than on the offensive. He's already talking about a hammer time. He's got a clear track ahead. All he's got to just be put it out there. But this is where the interesting fight is. The fight for the 18, 3x5, 3 red cars, 3 polo cars, fighting in for the 18th position. One thing I like about motorsports is every fight in every position is a fight that you can always live up for, and you can watch it so closely. Mani Sivak at the moment 18th position.
18th and trying to chase on down. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments here. We'll be back with more after this.
Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
Pressure showing then as Rock does jump now up into 16th position. A couple of drivers running into troubles in front, meaning that he picks up a couple of places. But look at how aggressive every lap there is someone side by side coming out of Tosa up the hill towards Piratella. I wasn't expecting it one here today, Solomon, to be a corner worth keeping in mind as an overtaking place, because it's really difficult to pass. But today it seems like that's the place where all of these polos are getting the run to get those attacks.
One thing about the polo that you would want to see them, it's very light on one of those right-hand corners. In fact, you will see a lot of overtakes that's happening on the right-hand corners. Not so much on the left that we've seen so far. Looking down at Steve Smuts, he is really piling on the pressure. So in the next 3 laps, he could be as close as ever to take the fight to Arun Ravindra. Can he fight back? This is the moment that we're going to look at.
Certainly is at this stage. There is Amit Kuti, currently classified in 3rd position right now, and is trying to make some really good progress back through the field here. There is Munjal Savla in 4th position at this moment in time, and is just slowly starting to fall maybe backwards into the clutches of those behind. And that will be the concern in the second half of this race. Those who have maybe gone out a little bit early, a bit aggressive on the tyres, not being able to pull that back in. Tej Patel, what a quiet run he's had so far today, Solomon, up into 5th place, and pretty much having, oh no, a commentator's curse, he's just spun the car.
So I got one on you. So there we go. Well, come on, reverse that car, get back on grid. Come on, that's what you're looking at. He's lost about 10 positions, so he's going to come back again. Somewhere on 16th or 17th position if he joins the car back. Rishabh Banerjee says thank you very much. He takes his position at the moment at number 6. He leads the fight for the 6. He's going to be fighting car number 16 at the moment. Arun Ravindra, hey, he stretched his lead now. So responding to that pressure, Arun Ravindra responding to the pressure goes faster and extends the gap just over 1 second. It's going to be very interesting as the race comes down. 15 minutes to go. There's going to be more drama for sure.
Well, at the halfway stage, Ravindra's just doing what he needs to keep behind Steve Smuts at an arm's length, and he has done that, and he's done so well by putting in some really, really positive times coming over the start-finish line. But the focus now surely has to be on 5th place back to about 12th at this stage. We're all within about 2 seconds of each other in terms of gaps between drivers. That's going to be one definitely worth keeping an eye out on into the later stages of this race. All of those points definitely up in the air is the right way to say it. Seems like Coffadia is making a really, really good charge back through the pack. Remember, he was down somewhere around 24th position after that opening lap contact. He's now back up into 8th place and having a brilliant run of things at this moment in time. And there's not much that anyone is being able to do here to try and stop this recovery drive. We did have a little chat though with the driver who's in 4th place at the moment. That is Munjal Savla, who is having a really good run. Here's what we have managed to get after a little conversation with him.
I'm Munjal Savla, firstly, and I'm 32 years old. So I have been racing for quite some time, since probably I was in high school. Started off with karting, and then joined engineering. Kind of dropped off from the racing scene, and then came back into the first Volkswagen Polo Cup in 2010. Did 3 years of racing at the national level. Had a good time. Being a rookie, had a steep learning curve, but eventually ended up with a few race wins and made some lovely friends, and overall was a great learning experience. Since then, I haven't really raced. At a professional level, I'm an engineer and now a management consultant. I'm into renewable energy and work in that space.
Well, quietly in 4th position, Munjal Savla has had a really, really good run of things so far today, and he's looking like he's in that position to continue at this stage. We have been keeping an eye on that battle for 8th place. There's Coffadia, and that's a pass just behind Coffadia to pick up that place. Now, Solomon, these positions, 9th, 10th, 11th, all the way up to 7th, 6th, 5th place. You can see JB Shaw also trying to recover back. He's got a great run out to the second revat, so he's already through. You can see from the red arrow, which he'll have as he's racing. That's where the car is behind, and that's how he's clear of Raj Tula and up now into the top 10. On the brakes, turn 1. Very nicely done. Tula looking to attack then on the exit and try and pick this one up into 4th gear and looking for the next stage here. Moves back to the inside, trying to find this move, and he's got a nose to the inside. He brakes later to make it happen. Now that is commitment from Raj Tula. You don't often see that, and there's someone off there in the grass as well, so that might be another position that they potentially gain. But look at Shaw, he's coming right back here at the toes of hairpin. He's going to pick that one up. Have just lost Solomon Barras here with us, so I'll continue on with coverage here right now. Looking down for the inside is Tula, who is now down into 11th place here. Can't quite hold that one off, and that was very nicely dealt with then as they go on forward. We're down to 11 minutes on the clock. Tula here, certainly hoping for opportunity then to go out there to strike, to attack, gain back those positions, which are very key. Coffadia already now back up then into the 7th position and searching for that right time to move up to maybe 6th, maybe even 5th place right now to make sure that those positions are very, very keenly fought for. Solomon, do we have you back here?
Yes, you do. I was just looking at Aro Ravindra's time. He's actually stretched out to over 2 seconds, and that's something very interesting. I was pretty surprised. Right in the back, suddenly, somewhere in the mid-pack, we're going to be looking at more fights for the fight for the 7th position. And there's also a very interesting fight between the 11th and the 13th position. Right, number 7, Osham from the Netherlands has moved up to position number 7. Remember, he was on the top 5 or top 6. Just to talk to you a little bit about him, 2011 Volkswagen white sedan, and also
certainly had some really good results in terms of his past at the moment. But we're going to step aside very, very quickly here when it comes to action of the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. We'll be back with more after this.
Power is, you only understand it when you feel it, you know?
Volkswagen.
Looking to fly on forward and find the right results. There's Suarez Yadav, who is now in 10th position at this moment in this race and is trying to make some progress here as we take an aerial perspective here at this middle sector of the track going down the hill towards the fantastic bit of road. And you can see that battle between Jamie Shaw there up in front for 8th position on track. That's going to be a key little fight that we're going to be seeing. Now, Solomon, the big issues that these drivers are going to have is that if they start losing sight of the forest between the trees, so to speak, they're only going to be fighting for 8th place, not higher up for 7th, 6th and 5th places. Again, lost Solomon here, but Jamie Shaw is fighting for that 8th place and is fighting for that 8th place incredibly difficultly at this stage, trying to get another good run out here on second, and Solomon will be happy here.
Oh yes, you do. Just a little worried about is the way the cars are twitching onto the corners. It's not gripping that corners down there as much as you look around it. We've seen that Oshan has been doing trying to turn in as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we just had a look there. That looked like a little bit of sideways action from the driver in front of Cofferdere, who grabbed grass on entry into Tamburello, able to hold the slide. That is Pratik Sonowana, who very nearly ran himself into those troubles. But what the key is, in terms of this moment in time, is that Sonowana is definitely hoping that he can hold on to 6th, maybe challenge for 5th place. But he has two options here. He can either try and defend this one hard and maybe lose out on 5th place, or maybe he can go for the other route, which is to maybe use Cofferdere as a pick to drag him up forward and into that battle for 5th place.
Spot on, Jake. Now I'm just thinking, things are getting heated up. It's 7 minutes 35 seconds to go. Swaraj stays at number 10. A big heads up to one gentleman by the name of Ravindra. He's done well to hold back Stephen Smith. I hope he's able to hold it back for a little bit. He's still there. He is on your screen, Ravindra. Where in the rear view mirror, we can't even see the car. Stephen is not even close. So here comes the moment where he's going to be lapping the back markers here. Can somebody take advantage of that?
Maybe that could be the case here. Steve Smuts in 2nd position. He's been very Steve Smith-like in the way that he's been hanging in and being very much a pest or a nuisance to the driver in front, and has been a pest to many a bowler, has Steve Smith. But for the moment, Steve Smuts is not quite in the right area to strike, and I think that this might just be a case of being close but a bridge too far at this moment in time as we head ourselves into the final stages of this race. The final 6 minutes left on the clock to try and figure this one out. Still the top 10 not entirely under the right position, as here is Ronnie Rock giving a little bump through the corner, and if there was ever the chrome horn time to make a pass, that was a push to pass.
It's like, thank you very much, I need to get ahead, I'll see you later. Looking down the other side, I was just wondering, Navneet Kumar was way outside that curve. He should have possibly covered it much better. Okay, we're still now looking at Aditya Pawar. He's in position number 19, just behind this red car of Ronnie Khan, car number 30. So we're looking, a couple of them, setting in personal best lap times as the race is becoming a little heated up here. 3 cars have already gone back to the pit lane, and I've just seen was a Page who set in his personal best. Oshan now in position number 7. This guy is not going to go out with the other fight here again. He knows he's got 2 cars ahead of him. Can he make it a fight to the finish?
Look at the steering and how much lock he has got to try and do just to keep the car straight at this stage. This is a Herculean effort from Cofferdere, who's clearly got some crabbing going on in terms of having the suspension not straight. This is an incredible effort right now from Cofferdere to keep himself in this fight for a top 5.
Did you feel that berm there? Just on that curve, there was quite a rude berm there, and he's making it very smooth here. He's going to make life quite difficult. He's on his way to get it on the stick. He's on the slipstream. He's got to get to that corner first again and maybe close there. Has he done enough? He looks to have done again. He should be able to come out onto that next corner. He moves up to position number 6. Well done. It's a good move right in there.
It is, but he's got grass here as he tries to jam on the brakes. He wasn't quite entirely comfortable with how much he's steering the car. He gets a little bump from behind as well as he moved up into 6th place. Now he's got to try and attack for P5 and try and get something going. His steering, effectively on the analog clock here, is at 2 o'clock right now as he tries to chase on down Richard Banerjee for that top 5 position, and that will go down. It's one of the great recoveries because Cothadier, let's not forget, this turn here on lap 1, he was upside down 2-3 times, and he's still going to get a top 5, it seems, at this moment in time if things stay as they are.
If that incident didn't happen in lap number 1, I wouldn't be surprised if he was fighting for the first 3 positions or the podium finishes that we call it. He could have been one of the guys to watch out for. Quick story around here is it will be very interesting to look at the lap times a little later. Oshan versus Aro Ravindra versus Steve. It will be very interesting, but it's 3 minutes 35 seconds odd left. It's hammer time. This is the moment gloves come off. This is the time you have to get your speed. Now all you got to do is look at the track ahead of you and strive for that little position that's coming in front of you. Steve has done well, but not enough to catch this man on your screen, Aro Ravindra.
Now that's the key right now, and Ravindra here has just kept a gap of around 2 seconds here, and even here into the final 2 laps, I don't see that gap coming down unless Ravindra somehow finds a mistake out here on circuit. This has been a very clinical performance from Ravindra, who has led every lap here. He's been lights to flag so far in terms of this. 27 minutes on the clock, and he's had 27 minutes worth of race lead. But the focus will be a little bit further down the field to see how those minor positions here, those fighting for the top 10, are really going to be playing out here in hand. As Cothadier has got himself onto the back of Banerjee, looking to try and get that 5th place. You can see how much he's having to steer. He's got those steering absolutely dead on straight as he goes through turn 3 at Tamburello. That's almost unheard of.
I get a feeling that it's almost like visiting the gym and trying to get your hand muscles and your biceps moving on, because with this kind of work that he's doing on the steering, he possibly doesn't need to visit the gym today. But can he make that move in front of Rishabh? I believe that was a mistake. That was a mistake by Rishabh, and he goes a little too wide again. This is going to give a chance for Cothadier to actually line him up for an overtaking maneuver. Maybe one of the tighter corners again. He's got 2 minutes. Or can he do it before the finish flag? Can he do it before the checkered flag? That's what we're going to be looking at now.
With the fact that he's having to counter steer so much, he is going to be scrubbing speed on the straights, and that's going to be a little concerning. There's the mistake that's needed there, trying to get a little bit too cute, understeer through there at that section, but Cothadier can't capitalise here, heading up the hill on the brakes to the first of the chicanes here. And again, he's just so much more aggressive through the corners. He just doesn't have the car underneath him to really capitalise and to challenge on the small mistakes which are coming in. This is where pressure tells here as we do start to enter now the final lap of this race. There'll be no additional time added on after the 30 minutes on the clock. So now it's all about finish up your lap and hope you find it. Cothadier needs a good run coming out of this corner, and he does get a decent attempt to try and attack this one in towards turn number 1. This is going to be the key place to try and find all those actions, but again, on a straight line, or in a straight line, he does not have the power because he's having to counter steer with a little bit of out of centre steering, which is definitely not helping the cause as they jam on the brakes for what will be the final time here in this event. There is Ravindra, 45 seconds remaining on the clock. In fact, this is going to be a little bit touch and go whether everyone is going to be going around for another lap here, because we are heading towards the end here of this lap, and it may just be one more. Lights flashing there to say, come on, lap traffic please, get out of the way. I'm still on a charge. 30 seconds left on the clock then for Aro Ravindra. I think he may just force everyone to go one lap further potentially here, try and get himself over the line towards the end of this race. The 2 Ravazza corners here, the 2 left-handers, and the timer ticking itself down to just 10 seconds remaining, and I think that we are going to be just about out of time for one more representative lap around this place. This has been a storming drive and a lights to flag performance. The checkered flag comes out for him right on cue. Aro Ravindra has taken victory here today in round 1 of the VVRC here at Imola.
Well done, Aro Ravindra, and well hard fought, Steve. hard fought, Steve. And what a drive towards the end by.
This is the final lap now that we are on. So yes, sorry, my apologies. We have hit the final lap as they did cross the line. It looked like he was just going to be close, but there is Ravindra here making his progress through, and he is definitely looking like he is incredibly happy with the way that he's running at the moment, just driving on by. And it looks like Banerjee here has taken his place in the pit, so he's run himself into a couple of troubles here late on, but looks like Ravindra can be quite happy with the way he's run. There is Jamie Shaw all the way back down in 13th position right now, and he's having a really, really good run of things. But Banerjee in the pits late here is dropping a whole heap of positions, and that is not ideal.
Well, this is where we talk about the time to bring out the hammer and bring in the last set of best laps, last set of all that push that you really require towards the finish line. Now, for a moment I thought it was over, but then Aro Ravindra possibly has to just make sure that whatever he's done, he's got to do it again towards the end. Here you go.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Ronnie Rock there picking up places late. He jumps up into 14th position then. So classification of results, we do have it on your screen. A little bit of confusion on our end as we were just going through the final stages there, ladies and gentlemen. It is Aro Ravindra, lights the flag, picking up the win over Steve Smutt and Amit Kuti. A good charge today to get into 3rd position. Munjal Savla will take a quiet 4th place, and you put those in the back pocket and bank them. What a drive from Oshan Kothadia, up from 21st position after an incident on lap 1 to get 5th place, all nicely sorted out without any worries at all. Pratik Sonawana gets 6th position with Swaraj Yadav in 7th, and it's Lalit Jabak in 8th place. Tej Patel to 9th after a spin from 5th position, and then it's Abhimanyu Menon who rounds out the top 10 then here today. 15 rounded out then by the likes of Tula, Tashore, Budiraja, Rock and Rout as well, finding themselves in a couple of issues here and there as we look on going forward. But what is very crucial is we're going to take an opportunity then to just talk to a couple of drivers then after this race has all come into play. First and foremost here, it doesn't look like I have the permissions here to drag up drivers here to get interviews in and already here today, but hopefully we will be able to get interviews in just a couple of moments here, Solomon. But you have to talk about how lights the flag that victory was. But we will actually, before we talk about that, we will get our race victor in here today. And Aro, I think it's very clear for you, 30 minutes led. Lights the flag is probably the way you definitely wanted that victory to come along. Let's give ourselves a couple of seconds, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for Aro to be ready here for interview. But Solomon, that was a very, very good race that we just had there. And it was all about lights the flag victories and finding exactly what was needed.
You're spot on, Jake. I really got to call it out. You called out well as far as Aro. You called out well as far as Amit. You also called out very well as far as Kotiria is concerned. The kind of fight back that he brought in. What a lap time! I mean, he didn't put a wheel wrong, and he was spot on from the time he went. Very, very strong as well. So great stuff by Aro Ravindra all the way through.
Absolutely. We do have Aro Ravindra here. We'll try again. Aro, can you hear us, buddy?
Aro, can you hear us? We need to hear you.
And it doesn't look like we are in that position right now. So hopefully we'll get an opportunity here to talk to maybe a different driver. Let's try and see if we can get Steve Smuts in for conversation then, who managed to finish off this event in 2nd position, hopefully at this stage. But we do have drivers trying to jump on in and trying to get themselves in the conversation window. But Solomon, even if we are maybe not quite able to get drivers in today here for interview, what we are able to say is that this championship has started off with a really strong, clean drive at the front and some aggressive mid-pack battles.
Absolutely, and leading that one of the battle was somewhere between Amit and Glenn was also involved for a very, very little bit. Neeraj had to go back to the pit lane. Did well in the first 3-4 laps, but then he had to hit the pit lane later on. we're not able to get Aro and Steve. Maybe driving a car is easier than talking to us at this point of time, but I hope we're able to get them very soon. Favorite corner, Jake? You picked up a favorite corner already on the track. This is Imola. Uh, Glorious uncertainties are right here.
All the uncertainties we have seen today. Of course, Tosa has been a fantastic corner for a number of reasons. I like it. It's my favourite corner in all of the world of motorsport because you have a corner where you attack up the hill off of the exit, and it always makes things a little bit different here and a little bit interesting. So we're going to try and see here if we can have one more opportunity to maybe chat to a driver. Arrow, do we have you here, buddy? And unfortunately, we do not. So what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is bring ourselves to a close. A fantastic round one of racing action that we have had, but there is definitely more on the horizon. You want to check things out here for the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. From everyone who has been working hard behind the scenes here to try and make this one possible, to the sponsors here today, to Volkswagen Motorsports themselves, to MRF, to Venky's, and the NECC. This has been your Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship. And with that fantastic race from Arrow Ravindra, he'll be hoping that he gets a lot more of that on the horizon. We'll see you in about 23 hours' time for the next round of the championship.
Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
Racing, competing, is in my blood. It's part of me, it's part of my life. I've been doing it all my life. It stands up before anything else.
So we've been here for 10 years now, and we've been kind of creating a journey. We've been very much focusing on young drivers in order to create also a wider scale in this country.
The idea of Volkswagen as a brand is to support and grow motorsport.
They will not be able to hear anything.
Power. You only understand it when you feel it, you know? And when you do, trust me, you'll know why we live for these nights.
Volkswagen.
There's an old saying in motorsport, if you want to make a million, start with a billion.
You got to work your way up. You got to have talent. Ultimately, you have to be born with an ability to drive the car fast. I think you have to be practical, pragmatic. You have to be able to bounce back from a lot of setbacks, because you'll have 9 bad days for every one day, but the joy you feel on that one day makes up for the other 9.
It's probably one of the toughest sports mentally, physically, and many people crack, many people move aside and fade away. But if you want to sustain, then you have to really fight it.
You have to be fearless. You are always fighting against, and you don't think about what could happen when things go really wrong.
If you don't have that little bit of craziness in you, it's not going to really work out long term.
My mind, I always use the aggressive approach. If you don't want to move forward, you always end up going backwards.
For me, it's always a great experience, motorsports, because you smell the tires, you smell the oil, you smell the excitement of the drivers, and it's just car pure.
You know, it also goes as a big sacrifice in terms of your career, because you're into something which is not conventional, and it's not going to give you too much of returns monetary, at least not in the short term. Where your friends are, doing masters, living in the US, making a lot of money. You're here doing your thing that you love, which is not really giving you back in monetary terms, but you definitely go back home and sleep good because you're doing what you love at the end of the day.
The driver needs to extract every last fraction of a second, otherwise they're not going to win.